I guess we need to wait for the rest of the of your colleagues to enter. Okay. Carlos, if you want to say something, you have to activate your microphone. I don't know if you're just commenting over there or you wanted to say something.
¿Sí se ve usted?
Okay. Are we all in to start or are we waiting for somebody else? Okay, we have three of Colegio Williams. Okay. Sofia Campo, I need, okay. Yes. So I don't know. Are we all? All right, let's start. Okay. Hello. Sorry, I deactivated my microphone. Okay, my name is Susana Leventhal, and I've been a TOK teacher for many, many years. And I was a senior assessor, and I train also teachers to be TOK teachers. And now we're going to discuss a very difficult question, according to my opinion. Okay, before we start, let's start presenting ourselves. So please, I'm going to ask you by the order I see you. So Adani, please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. My name is Adani Medina, and I'm from Terranova.
Okay. And Ricardo?
Hi, I'm Ricardo Martinez, and I'm also from Terranova.
Okay. And now the three from Colegio Williams, please. I cannot hear you. I think your microphone is closed.
Hi, can you hear us now?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I'm Saeed.
Hi, my name is Gael.
My name is Mauricio.
And we're from Williams School.
Okay. Thank you. And now Let's go back to the. Okay, the next one to. Okay, Carlos.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Carlos Manuel Aguilera, and I'm from Gimnasio del Norte in Colombia.
Okay, okay, and Sofia.
Hi everyone, pleasure to meet you. My name is Sofia Campo and I'm a 10th grade student here at Gimnasio del Norte, located in Bogotá, Colombia.
Okay, practically we have two Colombians and the rest are Mexicans. Okay, so welcome all. And now let's start by seeing the phrase that we need to discuss. Okay, let's unpack it. What does it mean unpack it? See what's the difficulty here in seeing everything and in understanding the phrase. We don't need to define the concept, but try to understand. So, okay, Carlos, what did you understand by the phrase that we're going to discuss?
By the statement?
The phrase, we're going to discuss a phrase, right? That it talks about can knowledge be acquired after post-truth or something like that. So, okay, so what did you understand? What are we going to discuss?
Well, I understood that the statement refers to if knowledge can be built on post-truth, which is when personal emotions and beliefs take precedent over factual information. And well,
Okay,
I understood from that question that it's basically asking if knowledge can still be built when factual information is given less importance than personal beliefs.
okay. What did you understand, Adani, by post-truth?
By post-truth, what I understood was that you leave important data behind and you give your emotions more importance over what's like said.
Okay, can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
What I mean is you are giving information, and the most important thing is when you relate with your emotions over it.
Okay. Okay, what else can you tell me about it, Sophia?
Well, as my partners have, oh, I'm sorry. As my partner said previously, well, post-truth refers to those contexts that are based not on objective facts, but on more less influential facts like emotions, beliefs, or personal narratives, and that each can shape different opinions. But like also analyzing this concept, we would like to offer this different analysis of the word, which could be instead of taking post-truth as just true facts, acknowledging it as some knowledge that can be constructed when truth is distorted or secondary.
Okay. All right. That's a good point. Ricardo, can you give me an example of what you understand about post-truth? It can be a personal example, something
Uh,
that you can think about.
well, I think that a really good example of post-truth is in general history. Pretty much because victory, I'm sorry, because history is, for the most part, written by the winners, which means that there could be a lot of historical misaccuracies because it favors the narrative of the victor. So, for example, the fall of the Roman Empire, it depends a lot on what nation thinks about it. For example, Nazi Germany thought that the Roman Empire fell because of the racial categories, whilst modern historians believe that it was because of external factors like barbarians.
Okay. And Colegio Williams, what do you think about it?
Well, for my part, we all have our separate views on the question. However, I would like to bring in a couple of partially arguing, or I mean, agreeing with Sophia. Um, Nietzsche and James Williams both argued kind of pragmatic views towards post truths or general truths and their value. Nietzsche refuted the idea of a singular, truthful world, and I'd like to agree with him. And James Williams also argued that, sorry, if a truth has value to a certain individual or to a group of people, it has objective value, even if it can be logically argued against.
Okay.
Hey, hi. My
Yeah.
short answer is that you can build knowledge with a post-truth, based in a post-truth, because a post-truth is more based in beliefs and emotions. And I consider it can be more
Complex.
more complex. The answer.
From my point of view, I think that post-truth represents a limit to human thought, where our internal biases and emotions are prevent us from reaching an objective and understanding of the world.
Okay. Now, is it important to use philosophical terms or to use philosophy to discuss this question?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? We're kind of lagging on our part.
Okay. Is it important to use philosophy to discuss this question? Is it really important to know about Nietzsche and all the philosophers? Is it important?
Well, since I argued about like philosophy, I'd say that yes, it is. I'd say that the great thinkers of humankind have all been impactful to society because they were able to argue questions like the question we are posed today, and they were able to give us perspectives, and with their authority I can also argue a point of view. So I wouldn't say it's necessary, but it definitely holds some sort of value that referencing great thinkers or writings in our history.
Okay, it is very good to clarify the terms. Okay, that's the only purpose of using philosophy here. Be very careful because if you put a lot of this in an essay, you can get a very low mark. So
Oh yes.
do not mention Nietzsche, do not mention all that. You can research it, and it is very good what you did, but do not use it to define words in an essay or because it gives you context. And I totally agree that you need to discuss it and you need to understand it. And in order to understand it, the best way is looking for philosophy, because Nietzsche was the one that defined the term post-truth, and it's difficult to understand it in other contexts. Yes, and that's one of the main difficulties of this question. All right. So good to good to research, but be very careful to use it in an essay. All right. This is something that we didn't need to discuss, but as long as I'm an assessor too, I needed to let you know. Okay. Okay. All right. Then, what else can we say about knowledge and post-truth? And move it away and try to think about it in other areas of knowledge, not philosophy. Okay? Yes? Yes, I don't see any hands risen. So, okay? Yes? Okay.
Well, arguing from my behalf, I would like to also say that we don't have an authority over other people. I'd like to say that I don't have the authority to say that Gael's beliefs aren't valued just because of my logical thinking. So, based off of that sort of like thesis, I would like to argue that a post-truth, even if it is based off emotions or more subjective matters,
Mhm.
holds real value.
Okay, but remember, we're discussing knowledge, not belief. What would be the difference of saying something and discussing it as knowledge and not as belief? Sophia, can you tell me something about it?
Well, part of the fact from this question is that it's really contextual. So depends on the context where we place it, we can analyze it from different perspectives. For example, we wanted to state that for the mathematical point of view and the mathematical area of knowledge, the post truth is not a basic and starting point for knowledge, as it cannot be built upon post truth due to the fact that math is based on logical deductions, evidence, demonstrations, and axioms that are at the center of the subject. Which also means that the veracity of a claim does not depend on beliefs or emotional appeal or personal perspectives, but more statements that may consider knowledge and are fundamental and trustable that can prove a coherent logical system behind it.
Very good. And it is true. You cannot discuss this through mathematics. You have to choose other areas of knowledge that are a little bit more subjective. What else? What else? Come on, guys, raise your hands. Or you want me, do you want me to ask you directly? Okay, again, Williams. Okay.
Okay, so I totally agree with Sofia because, for example, if we imagine a post-truth campaign claiming that 2 plus 2 equals to 5, because it feels more inclusive or serves a political goal, in this area, it is not possible to build knowledge from that claim. So that's
Mhm.
why in mathematics, it's a boundary to post-truth.
Okay, but there are certain aspects of mathematics that are not as clear as 2 times 2 equals 4 or equals 5 or this discussing that claim. Because if you go to geometry, it doesn't work like that. There are different kinds of geometry, so be careful. You cannot say it's totally impossible. Okay, you have to research a little bit more outside of algebra or outside of the basic mathematics. Okay, Adani, what else?
I think that by psychology and anthropology, people tend to lean over what they believe or what they rather feel or have emotion over, like having a belief on religion, but that's a more difficult matter.
Okay, but is that knowledge?
I think it might depend because, as one from William said, we cannot say or unvalidate what anyone else says because it's an opinion, or it might be, well, yeah, it
Mhm.
might be an opinion. We can't just.
Okay, so be careful because we're talking about knowledge, not about opinions. Carlos, what else can you tell me?
Well, I believe that in humanities, knowledge can be built on post truths because humanity is an area that studies everything that has to do with humans. So, personal belief and emotions is also a very big part of the existence of humans. So, when post truths are presented, the information itself can be factually disproven, but the fact that people can prioritize personal beliefs over factual information, which is post truths, can be seen as something that can be studied under humanities.
Uh, can you separate humanities in different areas of knowledge? Because remember, we have human sciences. Are you talking about human sciences or are you talking about humanities in general, like history also in other areas? Okay, so what do you mean when you say humanities?
Well, I mean more like social sciences.
Okay, remember
Like,
social sciences and humanities are not the same thing. Okay, so
can you repeat?
give
I
me an
couldn't hear you.
example. Give me a concrete example.
Of post truths in humanities. Sorry, I
Hmm?
couldn't hear you. Okay. Well, a concrete example could be Holocaust denial because
Hmm?
it's been documented that certain groups of people do not believe that the Holocaust ever existed. But
Mm-hmm.
that's something that can be studied by historians because it's
Mm-hmm.
relevant knowing in what way personal beliefs or
Uh-huh.
propaganda can influence the way knowledge is passed down.
Excellent example, because now they are trying to rewrite history and erase several things about it. So this is a very good example of history being used as a tool of post-truth and trying to make new claims of things that happened and saying that they didn't happen. So this is a very good example. Ricardo, can you think of another one in a different area?
Well, I'm sorry. For example, in sciences, we have the people that deny vaccinations as a truth and think that they can cause diseases such as autism. And I think something very important is how social media influences this post truth because we
Mm-hmm.
have things in psychology such as confirmation bias, which makes people ignore facts that go against their beliefs and simply accept what that they see that validates their thoughts as completely, I guess, concrete and flawless. And I think it's the responsibility of not just whoever puts out the information, but also who receives it to, I guess, take it with a grain of salt or question it and not just take it at face value. Maybe like do a little digging by yourself and see if the information is correct. And this is why post truth has to be built upon with empirical knowledge. Like, for example, in history, there needs to
Mm-hmm.
be more than one evidence for it.
Okay, very good. All right. Sophia, anything else that you would like to add?
Well, taking into account the part of humanities, I would also like to offer the example of post-truth in the human sciences when it's found on public discourse surrounding the minimum wage increases. A common claim is that raising the minimum wage inevitably leads to job loss. And however, there is empirical evidence suggesting that in certain economic contexts, minimum wage increases can cause job opportunities or labor conditions rather than reduce employment. And despite this, the claim of job loss often dominates political and media narratives because it appeals to
Mm-hmm.
fear and economic uncertainty. But this also demonstrates a post truth dynamic in which emotionally persuasive claims, overweight manist and context dependent evidence, importantly, and this does not prevent the construction of knowledge in the human sciences, but instead it allows economists, sociologists, and political scientists to study how economic evidence is used and simplified or and sometimes ignored in public debate.
Very good. Very good. You're right. You're right. How is this applied in your is this applied in your country?
Well, recently we had this case in Colombia where our president decided to increase the minimum wage, and as some people in the country say, it's negative because the employment unemployment is increasing. At the same time, there's an opportunity for post-truth dynamics to appear for us to at the same time evidence those economic changes and how humanities and different areas of knowledge can get to intervene and start analyzing the facts to get to a conclusion.
Okay, very good. And now, Fabricio, can you think of an example in Mexico to more or less to help about this?
I'm sorry, what's the question?
Yes, give me an example. Okay, we heard Sofia an example of Colombia. Can you think of an example in Mexico?
No, it's true.
N-
Oh, Mm,
No? Okay. I
Yes,
don't know who
yes, yes.
Sebastian.
Yeah.
but we have one, and but it's a Gans idea. Is it fine if we share it, or
Sorry, I didn't get it.
yeah, we do have an example where for a political campaign, the
Uh-huh.
president of our country a couple years ago started building a train through
Mm-hmm.
national rainforests, and yeah, basically based off of like what Sophia was saying about political
Mm-hmm.
ideals or
Uh-huh.
agendas. uh, which is essentially a post-truth.
Mhm.
They started building or having physical historic actions, which in this case was
Mhm.
building a high-speed train through various areas that were previously categorized as a national treasure, and that
Mhm.
they should not be used
Mhm.
as a construction site.
Okay, and there is someone, Sebastian Castellanos. I don't know if it's a student or a teacher, but he's posting a very, very interesting question. What about the arts? How can they be affected by the post-truth? Are they affected or aren't they affected? Yes, yes, I. Mhm.
Yeah, I would. I like this question a lot. As an artist myself, I would like to say that first of all art is not only subjective, but it's typically based off emotion or relies heavily on it. And emotion is a big part of the context that builds a post truth. And the knowledge that can come from a piece of art is really um, like kind of a manifestation of this context that was established to build a post truth that became the perspective of an artist to create that work of art. Like a great example of this is, for example, on historical paintings, like for Renaissance era paintings or like kind of paintings that depict more religious tales. Those were not only affected by like historical events, but also maybe the church's view, or maybe they were ordered by kings or
Mhm.
popes or dukes or these people with power. But at the end of the day, they still relied on the artist. They still relied on how the artist would portray them, and that was
Mhm.
inevitably subjective or inevitably built
Mhm.
around a post-truth.
Okay, very good example. Yes, and how has art changed during the last decades? Okay, because you're talking about Renaissance, and that was wonderful painting. But for instance, we have right now artists like Damien Hirst that works with animals, and many people don't think this is art. This is cruelty. So, is that related to post-truth or not? Have you ever heard of Damien Hirst or not? Damien Hirst. No or yes? Has anyone heard about him or no? Okay, he puts animals in chlor in I I don't remember the substance that he sinks animals there, and he shows them as works of art, and he sells them very for a lot of money. So is that art or not? Is that an effect of post truth? Because we're not talking about a painting, we're not talking about something that lasted for centuries, but we're talking about someone who has a creative idea of what art is, but is also very criticized by people about by people who defend human rights. So think of examples like those, not examples in the past. Which examples can be used to justify the question about the changing in the arts because of change the changing of knowledge in the arts because of the post-truth? Yes, Ricardo?
I mean, I guess that art is one of the most subjective topics within like humanity in general. And I think that maybe the definition of art has been reconsidered in the last couple decades because before, I guess art was seen as the visual or like the music. And I've noticed that recently the emotions that the piece evocate are also of extreme importance, maybe even more than the talent itself that went into it.
Mhm.
And for example, a lot of people really don't think it's art, and it's completely valid. Like it is one of the most subjective things. But you mentioned the I guess, more controversial pieces. And one I can really think of is a couple years back, they revealed a piece of like a Christian cross, like a Jesus Christ cross, submerged
Mhm.
in human urine, and presented it as a work of art. And I guess
Exactly.
this, Mhm.
No, exactly. That's a good
Yeah,
example because
and I guess here the emotion that it causes in the receptor is more the art than the piece itself, because I don't really consider that to be talented at all.
exactly. Okay, that's a very good example, and it has a lot of implications because nobody agrees with it. Okay, now art is not about beauty; it's about the intention of the artist. But okay, you said, Said, being an artist myself. Okay, why do you consider yourself an artist?
Well, speaking more like from a personal perspective, because I know maybe many of you or many people in general will not agree to this, but I first of all I produce music. I'm a musician. I make
Okay.
songs as I play guitar, I play piano. I know how to produce music. I sing. So that's like my form of art, but I would argue that anyone who can um, appreciate art or place their feelings, their context into any form of structure. It doesn't have to be a painting, a sculpture, music.
Mhm,
Anyone who can write an essay with the intentions of political awareness is considered an artist. For me, people who can even just post on social media photos of themselves or the places they go or anything that they like in their own sort of way. For me, that's
mhm,
what defines art. Like when someone takes something they are feeling or something they think and
mhm,
they turn it into a manifestation of any kind. It
mhm,
doesn't really have to be what we consider art. So yeah, I'm speaking through the point of view of someone who has been consuming art all their lives, from someone who
mhm,
comes through a family of artists.
mhm,
Everyone in my family is either a painter, a sculptor, a musician, or a poet or a poet.
mhm,
Yeah, I've always been really close to art. Also, fashion, expressing yourself through the way you dress can
mhm,
be considered a form of art.
mhm,
So yeah, I'd argue that really through the point of view of an artist. I was talking about myself because I view the world with the context of a
mhm,
person who has been really affected by art, which it could be considered a post-truth even.
mhm.
And
Okay. Mhm.
so yeah, that's kind of more what I meant. Sorry for going on about this.
Okay.
But yeah.
Great explanation. Great explanation. Okay. Juan David is asking a question, but I don't see it completely. Do you see it you see it? Because it says, to what extent post-truth is shaped by, but it doesn't, I cannot read the rest of it. I don't know if you read it.
Do you
Yeah,
want me
it
to read
says
it?
to what extent
Ah,
post-truth is shaped by cultural meanings around the world.
okay. Who wants to answer that?
Me.
Eh, Very good question, Juan David. Yes, okay. Carlos?
Yeah, post-truth is shaped by cultural meanings around the world because it shapes the interpretation that people have. So the way they interpret the factual information they get and what like the way they decide to distort it in a sense
Mhm,
to make it become a post-truth, I think that's very related to the cultural meanings of what they're
mhm.
taught and what the values are in the certain part of the world that they're in.
Okay, something to ask Colombians because I know that Mexicans will know it pretty well. But eh, do you have a tradition in Colombia about Dia de Muertos? Yes or no? Okay, Sofia or Carlos, do you have a tradition on how to celebrate Dia de Muertos in Colombia?
Well, we do
Well,
not
we do
have
not have.
wait. We do not have Dia de Muertos or any celebration like that kind. Speaking for myself, because Carlos is also Mexican, so we do not, but we do have different traditions and cultural events that make part of our year.
Okay, and do you know about Dia de Muertos, Sofia? Have you learned anything about Dia de Muertos or
Yes,
no?
I have. Actually, my family is really connected through religion with
Mhm.
Mexican culture because we believe in La Virgen de Guadalupe. So we have like that connection with it, and as well, I have family in Mexico. So whenever we visit or they visit Colombia, we have that tradition to honor the dead ones.
Okay, and so what would be the difference of someone just visiting or knowing third hand about Dia de Muertos and living it in our culture, Adani? Okay, how would be the difference, and how does that relate to the topic we're discussing?
Oh my God, this is a really complicated question. I feel that if having a different cultural belief or having a different aspect on the emotions it causes can be related to knowledge and post-truth, because not only are you experiencing something new, but you're learning something new from it, from the new cultures.
Okay, and what about any other tradition that you can think that is related to only to one country or more related, more studied in one country and not taken in for granted in other countries? Yes. Okay, Said.
Hi. Yeah, and there's an Australian tribe in like the middle of the desert, which has this tradition where they must embark on a journey, like walking through the desert, and it's hundreds of miles, and it's their sort of coming of age kind of ritual. So if a boy
Mhm,
wants to be called a man, then he
mhm,
must embark on this journey. And I think that, for example, that tradition,
Like one.
uh, yeah, like I think that traditions like that, which in those cultures are considered like serious or sacred, to maybe like cultures in places like the United States,
mhm,
or maybe in places like London or the UK, may be considered like pagan or
mhm.
kind of primitive, maybe even. Like I don't want to like use an offensive term, but
Exactly. No,
I think that
I know what
that's
you mean. Mhm.
yeah, great.
Uh, Yes.
I think that sort of that context or that post-truth affects how the knowledge is portrayed. It gives us sort of this propaganda eye, where when someone in the United States hears about this tradition, they might tell it with sort of the connotations of the prejudice of like
Mhm.
these more primitive people, these kind of uh, sorry, I don't really know how to
Yes.
express my
Mhm.
point.
Mhm.
These sort of more pagan tribes and their rituals, and like kind of a judging or looking down point of view towards them.
Mhm.
So kind of that sort of spreading of information when it comes to traditions could be sort of like how maybe knowledge is built in some areas of the world in regard to knowledge in other areas of the world. So
Mhm.
like in Australia, that's considered sacred and it's considered respectable and it's considered like the coming of age and an
Mhm.
important and a big deal and admired. or whereas maybe in the US or maybe even in Mexico, in any place of the world with kind of like a modern materialistic sort of superior ego-based point of view, could kind of view it looking down, so and
Okay.
spread it in that manner. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yes. Anybody else that wants to add to what Said just said? Okay, now, Gael, think of another area of knowledge that you think it's less subjective and tell me if it's also subjected to post-truth. Do not think about humanities, do not think about traditions and culture. Think of something in a hard area that could be subjected to post-truth.
Pero dijo no humanidades.
Like mathematics or which area?
As we already argued about it a little bit, that it's really difficult, okay, to understand in that area. But think about chemistry or think about other areas that could be related to that question.
Like physics, biology, and that kind of things. Geology,
Hmm?
you mean, or what is?
Science.
Well, tell me an example. Give me an example.
Okay, I think like in physics you can build knowledge based in a post-truth. For example, in the part when you have a how do you call it?
Hypothesis.
A hypothesis, or maybe in the part when you experiment, like I don't know.
Okay? I'm going to give you a small example. Okay? Think of a jar full of ants. Okay? And you have black and red ants together in a jar. Okay? The jar is still, so they just want to climb and go out of the jar. But suddenly you shake the jar, and then the ants begin to fight. Is there a scientific explanation about that or not?
I'm sorry, you are lying. Can you repeat?
Hmm?
Can you repeat, please?
All? Everything?
No, no,
Okay, you
no.
have a jar.
Just the last part.
Okay. You have the jar and you fill it with ants, okay? And they are red and black ants. They are supposed to be very different and to have different ideas, or to work differently. But they are just interested in climbing to the top of the jar and get out. But suddenly you close the jar, you shake it, and then all the ants inside the jar start fighting. Okay? Now, is this related to science? Is this a belief? Is this related to knowledge? Is this related to the question about how can that be related to post-truth? How would you see it?
Like I see. Um,
Difficult, right? I know it's difficult, but think about it, okay? Is it science or isn't it science?
O es una post-truth.
oh, I think it's a post-truth because if you see a fight, it's I don't know, it's another type of topic, and
Okay, say it.
Well, if I could, I think that there's something really valuable in the example you portrayed, which is that is there science behind the motives why these ants are fighting? And that brings me again to philosophy with the concept of determinism. Determinism argues that none of us have free will, that it's all just systems doing their work. You don't choose what you are or who you are or the choices you make. Much like these ants, they don't choose to fight. They just have chemicals in their brain telling them there's food and there's other ants, and it triggers a mechanism of biochemical reactions which eventually lead to the ants viewing fighting as the only choice or the choice they have to make. So there is an argument that it's all determined by by scientific, by physical, by genetics, by social factors. But there's also the argument that we simply don't know. We don't know what these ants or why they do it. We simply know that they do it. So we will never truly be able to understand the motives behind anything. That's basically kind of the theory of determinism, and it directly implies that post truths are kind of irrelevant. They are irrelevant if everything is already determined. So yeah.
Very good argument. Yes, that's exactly what we need to be discussing. Okay, then how is this related to answering the question about knowledge and about post-truths? How is this relevant? Why did I choose an example like that? Maybe you're going to say this is a crazy old lady that just want to shake her brains, but how is this related to the question? Come on, guys. Yes? Okay.
I guess
Okay.
that, well, my interpretation is that you can take factual knowledge, which is that the ants were in fact fighting, and maybe there is scientific reasoning behind it. Maybe like their pheromones got like mixed up or something, and that's what triggered them to go insane. But I think what's important here is that you can take what you already have, which is the fact, and then I guess you can twist it to like fit your for it to fit your viewpoint more easily. For example, we could have this is gonna sound a bit wrong, but like maybe you could have a take on the ants that maybe they were fighting because of their different color, and you could take that as I guess, oh, even in nature, there's I guess racism between ants, and
Mhm.
maybe you can use that to justify racism towards humans, and that would be a form of post-truth since technically the ants were fighting, but the reasoning you gave behind it just is not factual.
Okay. Great answer. Great answer. You really got to the point that I wanted to get, okay? That it is not really the example that we're using, but how we are using it and how we are justifying it. Okay? And what they are saying is that we don't have time, that we're almost through with this transmission. So I just wanted you to tell me, what did you learn about it? Okay, let's start wrapping up, but I don't see anybody connected. I don't know what happened. I just see myself. Can anybody see me? Okay,
I
all
would
right.
like to conclude.
Okay, so let's just, we're almost through. So what did you learn about this discussion? Okay, what was the importance of this discussion?
Okay, so while post-truth undermines the traditional pursuit of truth, it can be used as a tool to understand human behavior in the human sciences. However, it remains entirely incompatible with the objectivity that is required in mathematics. That's why in mathematics it acts as a boundary to this phenomenon, and mathematical knowledge is always built on logic and internal consistency. So, meaning that post truth, no matter how popular it is, cannot change the validity of a proof. But in humanities, post truth often shifts the focus from objective facts to emotions and beliefs. While this can distort reality, it also allows us to build knowledge by analyzing why certain narratives can gain power or social acceptance, and even if they lack of validity. So that's why I think about.
Very good way to wrap up the question and to get to a general conclusion. Now, what did you learn in terms of how can you use that in your TOK essays or in your how could you use something like that in your TOK essays? What was valuable about this? Yes, Carlos.
Well, I think it helps a lot to identify that a lot of things are situational when it comes to knowledge, because you can have a very concrete essay when you address the fact that knowledge doesn't always mean the same thing for each area of knowledge, and it can be, well, not perceived, but it can be created in different ways.
Okay. And do not be afraid of using examples as crazy as mine. Okay. Try to concrete everything and to give more examples, because you say at certain points I saw you just arguing without giving examples, and you need to give more examples. Okay. And the more original the examples, the better chance to get a good mark. Okay. If you argue them correctly. Okay, is there anything that you would like to ask me? No? Okay, then, okay, Sophia, anything to wrap up this?
Maybe that the most important thing about these TOK questions is that they're subjective. Like, depending on the context you look at them, you have different perspectives and different ways of
Mhm,
analyzing it. And that's basically part of why it is so important to address these TOK questions. For example,
mhm,
in the two areas of knowledge that we were acknowledging in this meeting,
mhm,
from a mathematical point of view, while post-truth decreases communication of mathematical knowledge without affecting its validity, it also provides the human sciences with meaningful material to analyze how beliefs and
mhm.
emotions shape human understanding. And in the social or human sciences, post truth does not function as a reliable source of factual knowledge, but it allows
Mhm.
for construction of knowledge to emerge based on how emotions, narratives, and powers shape human understanding and beliefs.
Exactly. That's a good point. It allows more knowledge to emerge. Later on, we're going to analyze it. Later on, we're going to decide if it's knowledge or not. But it is important to allow it to emerge and to be more creative. Okay. Anything else that you would like to add? Yes, Said?
Well, I'd like to thank you and thank all of the guests we have had today, including ourselves. I'd like to thank all of you, all of us, all you especially for the amazing dialogue we've had, and for all of the different perspectives we were able to input towards arguing about this question for TOK.
Okay, well, no, thank you, and I thank your teachers because they are doing a great job teaching you TOK. Okay, so keep on the good work and try to use more your personal knowledge to reflect your critical thinking. So this is the most important thing in TOK. Okay, not rely on many authors, research, but do not put all the definitions and all the authors in an essay or in a presentation, but show who you are and how you analyze the questions. Okay? So, if there is nothing else, thank you very much. Thanks to your schools too, to Colegio Terranova, to Gimnasio del Norte. I was there twice teaching your teachers several years ago in Colombia, and I love it. I was also in Cuernavaca. I know many of your teachers, and I know your teachers in San Luis. So, okay, congratulations to all, to your teachers, to yourselves, and to the organization for everything they are doing for you to think critically. Okay, that's what we need in the future here. So thank you very much. Okay, so bye.